It has now been a while since the release of the first promotional video of Black Myth Zhong Kui on Gamescom 2025. Now that we have got some time to read up on his stories and background, we're all looking forward to GameScience's rendition of their Black Myth universe. However, you may still be wondering, why pick Zhong Kui to follow Wukong? Would the Wukong DLC still come? Will it have any relationship to the story of what we have seen so far in Black Myth Wukong? In this video, we will collect more information on top of the trailer and make an analysis based on what GameScience has hinted to us so far. Let's time one down. Plot prediction of Black Myth Zhong Kui. If you haven't watched my two previous videos about Zhong Kui, I strongly suggest you to do so. Don't worry, they only set you back about 12 minutes, but it would greatly help you catch up here. Now let's begin. It has become quite commonly known now that GameScience is planning a Black Myth universe. Their official social media account across different platforms have all now changed their names from Black Myth Wukong to just Black Myth, and the display pictures are all now a close-up shot of the newly announced Zhong Kui. As I explained in my previous video, it is evident that elements of Wukong, or rather Journey to the West lores, will very likely intertwine with this new game. Other upcoming titles currently registered are all also based on Chinese mythologies and folklores. This includes Jiangzi Ya from Investitures of Gods, which could include the famous Erlang and now rather popular哪Xiao Qian from Liao Zhai Zhi Yi, translated to Strange Tales from a Chinese studio. Da Huang, likely about the mythical tales of the dawn of the Chinese civilization. Shanhai, translated to Classic of Mountain and Sea, tells old stories of foreign countries that were occupied by non-human creatures. And finally, Sou Shen, which is a much lesser known piece of literature, but set the base of a lot of mythical stories in the Chinese history. Out of all these, GameScience decided to go for Zhong Kui immediately after Wukong, and I think I know why. I believe GameScience is setting up Black Myth Zhong Kui to initiate the establishment of a Black Myth universe by simply incorporating more details into the original Black Myth Wukong storyline in ways the other folklore simply couldn't. There are a few things that give it the edge. Reason 1. Timeline. While all the games will eventually be added to a shared universe, these first two games share one thing that the others simply don't. These two events happen in very close succession. Journey to the West, as a novel, never specified the year the trip commenced. However, historically, studies show that Xuanzang's journey took 16-odd years to complete between 629 and 645 AD in the Taizong era of the Tang Dynasty. Roughly 90 years later, Zhong Kui's story was created when his grandson Xuanzong saw Zhong Kui in his dream. In the Black Myth Wukong worldview, we learned that almost immediately after the completion of the journey, Wukong realized what he truly wanted and took to action to defy the overwhelming power of the Celestial Court in an exhausted effort to regain control of his own destiny. This puts the establishment of Zhong Kui as a demon slayer almost immediately after the epic battle that resulted in Wukong being put back into the stone. Considering the headache Wukong has caused the Celestial Court, as we learned in Black Myth Wukong, the easiest way to connect the two stories is causality. Wukong's path from a Yaoguai to a Buddha, just to then show the world how he despised the Buddhahood, really hurt the Celestial Court's authority and jurisdiction. Coincidentally, a position specifically created to nip all potential revolutions in the bud would make perfect sense when viewed from the side of the Celestial Court. 2. Profit-driven. No, I do not mean profit like money in real life. In Black Myth Wukong Chapter 4, we learned that the entire webbed hollow is a large-scale experiment to breed will, which is an important resource that is openly sought after from heaven through hell. Wills are developed within the living during their self-cultivation. For all three realms, one can gain wills by absorbing the essence from the surrounding as a natural result of your efforts to better yourself. When the will inside grows, you get closer and closer to joining the ranks with the deities, therefore gain the ability to live longer, consequently stay in power longer. Eventually, the Celestial Court, being the top of the power pyramid, realized they could simply take the wills from the beings in the lower realms by sacrificing them. Ultimately, they then distribute the wills gained within their own social class to extend their own lives without having to work for it themselves. They wanted this to work so much they started an experiment to grow living things just to sacrifice them for their will. The world is not left with the ones in power sucking the lower realms dry, while the lower realms are cut off from ever making the class leap since nobody ever leaves the celestial court, as the ones in power live on forever. Now we can make a connection. What if there is a way to also get will from the underworld through ghosts and demons? After all, will is said to be harvested when the living dies. This would then be Zhong Kui's specialty. On the surface, it looks like Zhong Kui was assigned to keep the mortal realm safe from the demons and evil spirits. But if the harvest of wills does have a connection to the underworld, then the worldview of the two games would converge perfectly. Number 3. Social structure. One thing that is worth noting, Zhong Kui himself is not considered divine. He is like the Chinese Constantine, where the ruler of the underworld believes he is of use, so he was assigned tasks working for the underworld. He appeared in the Emperor's dream, but he was never elevated to the heavens. He functions within Difu and manages the demons' fates. Basically a high-rank Yaoguai, if you will. We learned in Black Myth Wukong that the path to the heavens as a Yaoguai was already near impossible with the social structure set up by the heavens. Zhong Kui's assigned job is functionally gatekeeping the link between the underworld of ghosts and demons to Yaoguai in the mortal realm. Carrying out these duties could trigger a conflict within Zhong Kui himself. He could be pressured into making a choice between going against his assigned fate or protecting the current order if he is also part of the beneficiaries. Number 4. Some other hints released from GameScience. Information is very scarce right now as the game has just been announced, but even with the limited amount of information we have on hand, there is still a lot of information that can be expanded on. The following may be reading too much into the details, but you know they could have put anything out, but they made the conscious decision to put these ones specifically. Let's just read too much into it together. On their website, other than the PV, they also posted these drawings. Let's start with the one that's a little bit simpler. This is a drawing of Zhong Kui on his ride, Baize. I want to focus on these words on the right first. Directly translated, it says, "It's easy to hunt the ghosts in the mountains, but slaying the demon inside of your heart is more difficult," suggesting that Zhong Kui's job description of slaying demons is the easy part, but to fight off his conflicting feelings inside himself is much harder, as Zhong Kui himself is also a ghost that only resides in the underworld. Then we move into this second drawing. A bit more complicated, let's break it down one at a time. Over here we have a short poem. Translates to, "Strange tales are common in the mortal world, while gods and demons wear human disguises." This can be interpreted that Zhong Kui used to be human from the mortal world, then he became a ghost that dresses like a human. Take a look at the smudge here. The erased word is mo, which is the word demon, symbolizing his job as a demon slayer. Next we take a look over here. We see a mouse with a human face being held by the left hand of someone. This is a reference from a book in the Song Dynasty called Dream Pool Essays. It was mentioned inside that someone invented a mouse capturing device called Wooden Sculpted Zhong Kui. The book mentions that the wooden device lures a mouse to climb up its left hand, and then the left hand would grab onto the mouse to be killed by the right hand holding a big steel rod. This turtle here on the bottom references another tale. Before Zhong Kui left for his exam, he visited a fortune teller who said he will succeed, which in Chinese we call 独占鳌头, literally translates to occupy the top of the turtle head alone. That would explain the turtle. The fortune teller then explained his reasoning due to his name Kui can be broken up into 9 and head. The exam being taken in September symbolizes the 9th month, and he will get to become the head of all. However, this interpretation will also figuratively require to rip the head out of this name, meaning he will be facing immediate misfortune when he succeeds in this exam. This broken limb will be a symbol of that. There's another tale that before Zhong Kui committed suicide, he said something along the lines of, "This hardened cat cannot behave like a tiger. A plucked parrot is worse than a chicken." It's meant to say that when a person hits rock bottom, nothing goes smooth. Hence we spot the head of a chicken and a cat-looking tiger. And from now on, we have a whole lot of Wukong references here. Take a look at this guy. You may be confused who this is at first glance. We take a deeper look into detail. This is actually very likely Ma Tianba. Remember him in Black Myth Wukong? He gave his life helping the Bull King as the Red Boy revolted. As he dies, he will have to face the underworld and its keeper, Yan Wang. Maybe he will play a bit of role in Zhong Kui as well. This Taoist, having 3 arrows around his aura, each pointing up, down, and right, symbolizing heaven, hell, and everything in between. Considering the poem that mentions the mortal realm, God and demons are also right above him, maybe this is Yuan Shoucheng? Lastly, we see a long-haired person carrying a cicada. It is rather difficult to find out who the long-haired person is, but from the cicada, we can easily make the relationship to Jin Chanzi, which by its name means the golden cicada. If this is a symbol of Jin Chanzi, then this guy could very likely be the last member of the pilgrimage, Sha Wujing. Linking all these hints together, this would be my interpretation of what Black Myth Zhong Kui's story could be. As Wukong's revolution was suppressed, resulting in Wukong's death, the Celestial Court took action to try to avoid similar situations from happening ever again. The ones in power ordered Yan Wang, the head of the underworld, to find a solution to eliminate potentials of another Wukong. Yan Wang's method was to hire a strong warrior to suppress any Yaoguai or demons in the mortal realm that may have a potential to grow out of control. As a result, protecting the power and benefits of the deities and eliminating the element of uncertainty. As Zhong Kui prematurely ended his life, Yan Wang thought highly of him and decided to turn him into the demon slayer as he planned. However, there was a bit of an issue a few years down the road. Zhong Kui was never meant to be promoted into a deity. He simply follows orders to eliminate Yaoguais and demons while being a Yaoguai/demon himself, likely having a period of serious struggles to fully convince himself if the path he is heading down is in fact the correct thing to do. He had much higher pursuit in the mortal realm before his death, as he intended to work for the government to do good for the people. This internal conflict could be the core development of the game. In the end, his moral compass finally tipped over when he learned the dark nature of the will harvesting operation by the deities. Not wanting to be the hitman for this tragic cycle, Zhong Kui then develops as a character and guides out a series of events. We as players may play as Zhong Kui or most likely another Yaoguai, developing with Zhong Kui throughout the adventures. Since the events of Journey to the West involved the death of a lot of Yaoguais by the hands of Sun Wukong, they could all now be ghosts and demons. We likely will run into some of them in the new game, thus effectively blending the two stories into the same universe. This game has the ability to fill in many blanks left behind by Black Myth Wukong and help guide out the next Wukong game story, including the highly sought after Underworld, where Wukong originally created huge chaos and scribbled all over the Book of Life and Death and defied aging. As I see it, even though we didn't get a Wukong DLC yet, Black Myth Zhong Kui is so far shaping up to serve a very similar purpose, while giving us a full-sized AAA game instead of a DLC. As Feng Ji, CEO of GameScience, mentions, the stories of Journey to the West is not over. Hopefully you learned something from this video. Leave a comment on what else you would like explained. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.